Okay, Pilgrims, this is the report of the New Beginnings Redux program for the Pilgrim Congregational Meeting, the annual meeting on January 13th, 2021. I wanted to give my report this way because we're meeting today by Zoom, but also because I want to record this. I want to have a record of this as something that's a part of what it is that we've been doing. And if I race through this too fast, there's also a written report that will appear with this. All right. So we got a series of issues here. What is NBR? What will it do for Pilgrim? Who's on the team? What has happened so far? And most importantly for me, what can you do to help? So New Beginnings Redux, you will remember that 5 years ago now, we were just finishing the conclusion. We're wrapping up the house meetings that had happened during the spring for the New Beginnings process. Over the course of the summer, there was a group that took the results of those house meetings and they processed it into a kind of vision for the future and put together a play that was presented within the sanctuary at Pilgrim. And all of that material, well, most of that material is available. Certainly the text of the play is available on Pilgrim's website. So I encourage you to go back and look at that. But as you do so, what you will be clear about is that this is a really excellent vision, which we have only partially been able to live into. The part of it that says we're going to use the church more fully on behalf of the community, that has begun to happen thanks to a huge degree to the work of Ron Gauss. But there are certain other aspects in terms of a connection with the community and new programming and new membership that by any evaluation have not really happened in this last 5 years. So New Beginnings Redux is a repeat, a kind of returned to that New Beginnings process that we have begun through a contract between the Pilgrim Council and the Center for Creative Conflict Resolution, which is my not-for-profit. All right. The process that we are engaged in now will be happening in a shorter time frame with a smaller group of people over the course of this summer. In the fall, what will it do for Pilgrim? In this fall, we're going to have a meeting of the congregation, and a congregational meeting, much like this one, though we hope at that point that we'll be meeting in person, at which Pilgrim will have a chance to consider a set of recommendations which the Discernment Team of New Beginnings Redux will have brought to it. And these recommendations are for the purposes of creating an increase in clarity about the vision for Pilgrim's ministry and to stimulate greater vitality. Right? These recommendations are going to be developed by the Discernment Team over the course of this summer. So who's on the team? Well, there are 12 people who have come forward and said they're willing to do this work. And it is a significant amount of work because we're doing a lot more work in a shorter time frame. The 12 people include 3 people who are not members of Pilgrim, though they are closely associated with Pilgrim. They include Jerri and Richard Davenport. The Davenports are a couple that each of them have very different skills. Jerri is an artist looking at an artist, how through art do we express our faith. She is a graduate of Eden Seminary. Richard's former Army military chaplain. I can't remember which branch he was in, but since retiring as a chaplain, he's done a lot of work with not-for-profits, looking at how it is that faith communities can form themselves meaningfully in this new age that we're in, as an effort to live a Jesus-patterned life. He brings that perspective to us. The third person is Ken Ulmer. He is also an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ. He's a member at Peace in Webster, and Peace is also going through a process of re-examination. It's rather different from our own, but it comes out of a similar kind of energy that says we're going to have to figure out a new way of being because the way that we are now is not going to continue to work for us. So those 3 are not from Pilgrim. We have 3 members of Pilgrim's Council, Connie Agard, Jenny Heim, and Ron Hill, who's not yet on the council, but he will be in a few minutes when we elect him to that. There are 3 on the Pilgrim staff. Ronna Seibert, Ron Gauss, and Reverend A have all signed up to be a part of this discernment team and are meeting with it. And then there are 3 other members of Pilgrim, Carol Moakley, Nancy Burge, and myself. So what have we been doing? Well, we've only just started. We've just started the beginning of June, and we've only met once all together. We're getting to know each other, but we're also come to a kind of agreement about certain fundamental points, certain fundamental positions about how it is that we understand what it is that's happening and what our work is. And I'd be happy to go into great detail with on this with you if you want, but just to summarize them a bit. The fundamental idea is that humanity needs local congregations, and local congregations will arise because of human need. However, local congregations, as they are currently structured in the United States today, they're dying. We can see that broadly. There are certain ways in which we've always thought about what the church has always been that keeps it stuck and stagnant. And this is true for all congregations, not just of any particular denomination, but it's the nature of traditional local congregations. And this is certainly true for Pilgrim. If Pilgrim does what it has always done, it will die. It's not alone in that. However, one of our positions is that if Pilgrim is able to think far enough outside the box, it can act in ways that create resilience and attract energy. If it does that, it will not only survive, but it will also become a leader in a new form of local congregation that not only preserves the church and helps folks grow up in the faith, but it also helps folks to engage in personal, relational, and social transformation. So what can you do to help? Right? If you want to know more, to join the team, contact me. I'm anxious to talk with you about it. But what we most need right now is for everyone to get clear about what are the issues that are most important to us as we discern a new vision. So the question is, what is it that matters to you? Some people are very concerned about the weight of the building and how do we, as a small worshiping congregation, how do we continue to support this without completely depleting our resources? That's something we've begun to address. But we have other resources too. What do we do with the music library? We've got an amazing music library. What about the organ? What about how do we deal with our investments responsibly? Are we still going to consider social injustice? Is that really important to us? What about food insecurity? Or what about access to education or health care? What is it that drives us? We exist, the Pilgrim building exists in a neighborhood that is about to experience some very rapid and dramatic redevelopment. Is it possible for that to happen in such a way that it doesn't succumb to gentrification and folks who've lived there for a very long time end up being pushed out? Are we agents of reconciliation? We exist almost literally on the Del Mar Divide, and certainly the racial diversity within Pilgrim is very important, but we're also of very different educational backgrounds, of different culture, even religious backgrounds. How do we deal with the polarizations that exist within our society? Are we called to a ministry of reconciliation? So what for you are the central issues that any revisioning of Pilgrim would have to address? We need your input. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.